Everyone thinks Spinal Tap was written like a normal movie, but what if I told you it was completely improvised? No script, no lines, just raw creativity. And the way they pulled it off changed the way movies and even YouTube today are made.
Scene from the movie. Was that written? Was that all in the script? Is that part?
No script.
No script.
No.
That's insane. We're talking about reality TV or improv comedy now, but Spinal Tap was doing this decades earlier. This is why it feels so real, because it actually was.
No script.
All that.
Both movies, the first one and this one, all the dialogue is improvised. Now we did have we had an outline, and we knew where we were going to, where the tour was going to take.
Right.
We have a basic outline, but every bit of dialogue is improvised, and this is a good little story. So when we did the first one, we put a billboard, chalkboard, whatever, and if you had an idea for a scene, you put a card up. Harry Shearer, who plays Derek, he was dating a woman who worked at ABC News at the time. And do you remember Roger Grimsby?
Do I remember him?
Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
Because I grew up local New York.
Yeah.
He was
okay. So yeah,
Roger Grimsby. Hear now the news.
Okay.
That was his catchphrase.
That's right.
Hear now the news.
And so, I don't know how Harry got a hold of him, but he had a stack of promotional cards that had a picture of Roger Grimsby on the front, and the back was empty. So if we ever came up with an idea that we thought, this could be a good, interesting idea for a scene, we'd say to each other, does this warrant a Grimsby? In other words, should we put it up on the board? And the second time we did it, the second movie, McKean comes in with a stack of Grimsby. So that's the way we do it.
That is a name that, if it wasn't his real name, someone would have had to invent it. It's just perfect.
Yeah.
But that's so interesting. The way you just described making the movie, no dialogue is written in the script.
Right.
You just have this outline.
Right.
You invented that, apparently. That's not, I think people think Curb Your Enthusiasm was the show that started that.
Yeah.
Apparently, this, and you're talking about 20 years before.
Yeah. No, this is in 1984.
That's your method.
Yeah, and what's interesting is people have asked me over the years, they say, it's your first film. Why would you you make a film that has no script? There's no, and I said, yeah, that made more sense to me than the other way, because, if you what Chris Guest used to call schnadeling, when you schnaddle with somebody, you can either do it or you can't do it. And so you get people who can do it, and it's like jazz musicians.
It would not make sense if film wasn't cheap. I've been on sets before, back in the million years ago when I did acting, and I remember more than one director, should we do another take? Film's cheap.
Film,
so in other
and
words,
this is even cheaper.
Right.
Because, for film, you got 10 minutes. This, you got an hour
I'm saying,
in a little chip.
If you don't get it the first 5 times, do it 5 times more.
Yeah.
So it's just, and then you just pick the best.
Yeah.
You have the best of both worlds. You have the spontaneity.
Yes, what's interesting about it, and this I learned in the first one, is we shot each scene maybe 2 or 3 times. And Chris Guest, who's brilliant, he's in the moment and he never remembers what he did before. So it's new every time. So you have to figure out, how do I stitch all this together to make it make sense? And what you discover is that
This is basically the editing secret of YouTube before YouTube even existed. Jump cuts, jump edits. It all works as long as your audio flows. Every creator on TikTok and YouTube owes these guys credit.
Cut the audio, not so much the video, not so much you cutting to make sure that there's no mismatches. If the audio tracks and they sound like they're, talking in some kind of rhythmic thing that makes sense, the audience will forgive all of the visual mismatches. And that's what we discovered. So you're essentially writing with the pieces of film.
Isn't that every film to a degree?
Well,
made in the editing room?
Well, some of them are, but usually the editor has a script, has a story, and there's this scene that goes into this scene, goes into this scene. We would move scenes around. You don't know, there's a whole element. Oh, that doesn't work. Get that out of there,
Right. But I'm saying, if you shoot I mean, how many hours of footage did you shoot to make a movie that runs for what, an hour, 40 minutes?
An hour. Actually, they both run 83 minutes. An hour, 23 minutes.
I mean, you're doing the audience you're squeezing out all the stuff that isn't awesome.
That's right. And I would always say,
That's brutal, but brilliant. The same lessons for creators now. Cut the fluff, keep only what's gold. That's how you hold attention on YouTube, TikTok, or anywhere.
in your mind, you're sculpting an elephant, whatever.
Right.
Then anything that doesn't look like an elephant, it goes. Even if you love it, even if it's a funny bit, but it doesn't attach itself, you get rid of it.
But you do realize that even that idea, which people of our generation take for granted, that is not the way the younger generation necessarily looks at entertainment. And the proof of that is so much of what they watch on TikTok and so forth, YouTube, is just people doing ordinary things.
Yeah.
And I've said to younger people, like, how could this be more interesting to you? That everything is available. You could watch any movie, you could watch any TV show, shows with great acting, great writing, and that's not what they want.
Yeah, no, they watch these, what they call, it's supposed to be reality. But in a weird way, it's not. Because they know they're putting themselves on TikTok. They know they're doing something on Instagram, and they're doing something to perform to do that.
Well, but I mean, there was this stage of a reality show, which is different than what we're talking about with scripting and good writing and acting. That at least was entertaining because it was never, of course, really they were put up to it. You're going to have a fight, and then they do.
Yes,
and they,
it's not reality.
But this is a step removed from that. This is like watching people take their laundry out.
Yes. And here's what's interesting.
Well, what is your analysis of that?
Okay, well, here's the thing. I don't know if you ever saw this documentary years ago. It was called We Live in Public. Did you ever see it? It was about the guy who created MySpace, which was the precursor to, Facebook. And he says at the beginning of the documentary, he says, Marshall McLuhan had it wrong. Marshall McLuhan said, everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame.
No, that was Andy Warhol. Marshall McLuhan Marshall was the one who said TV's a cool medium.
Oh, cool medium. Cool medium, right.
Warhol said
Warhol,
50,
right.
Yeah.
You're right. Warhol says everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame.
No, he said they'll get it. He said, in the future, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes.
Right. So here's the thing. It's not that they want 15 minutes of fame.
The fact that This Is Spinal Tap pulled off this with zero script back in 1984 is wild. It's basically the blueprint for the improv comedy, for reality TV, even for editing styles we see all over YouTube now. If you're into behind-the-scenes stories like this, hit subscribe because I break down the untold side of movies, culture, and how it all connects today.